Hello and welcome to the How to Hobby Podcast. I'm your host, John Power, and this is episode 157 of our show here. Once again, coming to you from behind the mahogany desk with my lovely co host, Shawnee B. How we be this week?
We be good. I'm gonna actually start the intro off with a question.
Oh
Now,
my.
John, would you believe me if I told you that this last weekend I tried not one, not two, but over 20 different kinds of whiskey?
Uh, I I don't know if I would actually believe you. That's
I
quite a lot of whiskey,
It is
actually.
quite a lot of whiskey. Now, I didn't drink a lot of whiskey. I tried a lot of whiskeys. My dad and
Ah,
I
interesting.
actually went to an event here in San Diego called Whiskey and Fire, which was hosted by, I think the company is called Heritage. They were doing 8 different cities popping up all over the US where they do local fire cooked chefs. So they did a lot of fire roasted stuff all over in cast irons, cooking over open
Ooh.
fire. And then they had booths of some local whiskeys, some not local whiskeys, some brandy, wine, different beers. And it was just a big event at Liberty Station that my dad and I ended up going to. I found it on Instagram out of nowhere. It just popped
Nice.
up as an ad. And then I asked my dad, hey, would you be interested in going to this? And so we ended up doing it and we had so much fun. I'm not really a whiskey guy, but my goal was to leave with finding at least one whiskey that I like because
Okay.
I want to like whiskey. I yearn to like whiskey, but I hate it. Like I don't
Ah,
like that flavor. So I wanted to find one that I could at least leave with. And I
okay.
actually ended up finding a brandy that I really liked from a company called Argonaut. And then it wasn't even a whiskey, but it was a whiskey company, but they do a hazelnut espresso vodka. And it was one of the
Oh,
best vodkas I've ever tried. It was it'd be so good in coffee. It was the flavor was delicious. But we tried, I think the best food of the whole event was they called it a goat cheese s'more. So it was a goat cheese ball wrapped in prosciutto, deep fried, and then covered in like seasonings on the outside. It will blow your mind. It was absolutely crazy. We took a picture of the restaurant because they're all local restaurants here in San Diego, so we're gonna go try and find them and see if we can order the same thing. But we were there for 3 hours and left kind of tipsy. I mean, we weren't drunk,
yeah.
but we definitely Ubered home because there
All
was
right.
like, no, we're
Smart man.
we're not gonna drive. My mom dropped us off there, then we Ubered home. But it was such a fun event, just hanging with my dad, trying different whiskeys, standing in line, talking to strangers, and making friends in the most weird places. No joke, ended up running into Vicente right as we get there. Didn't even
Oh,
talk to each other. He didn't know he was going. His friends said, "Hey, we're just going to this thing, and you're coming with us." And so they dragged him out and did it. And then we literally walk in the gate, and Vicente's standing right in front of me and my dad. And so we hung out part of the time, just randomly running into each other. It was such a fun event and a really good way to end a Sunday night, which was kind of weird because I feel like this would have been perfect for a Saturday, so you could not be worried about drinking too much on a school night. But it was a lot of fun. I tried so many different whiskeys and didn't walk away with the whiskey I liked, but I walked away with the brandy I like, and I'm happy with that.
that's great, Sean. I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of with you. It's a one of those things you just it's fine, but I've never been like, ooh, you know what I really need tonight? A good
Hmm.
whiskey.
And
Uh,
that's
and
my
I think I'm kind of
I
happy with that at this point in my life. Like I don't think I need more whiskey in my life, if I'm being honest. But maybe one day it will. I've had my moments. I've tried definitely. I had an old coworker who was big in whiskeys. Sorry, not coworker. I mean the boss. Like he had it all. I mean he had like the McKellen tens and twenties and the Lagavulins, all of them. I mean, and you know what? It's kind of one of those things where I feel like once you have a few of those experiences and
Mhm.
you've tried a lot of great whiskey in one time or another, it's kind of like, okay, I understand it. It's crazy, and I'm not sure I really want to make that a part of my like every day.
Yep. I feel it. I didn't want to make it part of my everyday, but I've yearned because I smoke cigars, right? And I love doing that. And I figured out what I like there. I've yearned for kind of that. I want to be a man and drink whiskey and smoke a cigar, but it's just never really been me. And I've not really tried to shove myself into it, but I was just hoping to walk away with something, a little bit of
Hmm.
something I could go to, have a nice little whiskey in a glass, enjoy. Like I know Vicente's really into it. He's had me try his whiskeys, and I think they all taste like butt. Like I don't like them, but I wanted to get into it. So I really enjoyed it and had a fantastic time and just hanging with my dad.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I actually sounds like we were just on the town this last weekend. We were on the road on Sunday, but I was able to take my wife out on Saturday night, and it was a really fun experience. We went to the beach. What a great day. Let me just break down the day because it was just phenomenal. It felt like the quintessential Saturday in San Diego. Started off with an unbelievable surf session in the morning. I surfed 4 days in a row, Sean.
Okay.
Every
That's
from
impressive.
Tuesday, what was that? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, so from Wednesday to Saturday, I surfed every single day, and it was just great, man. Getting back in the groove, getting out there, getting competitive in the lineup. I mean,
Hmm.
it's one of those things you got to own it. And we'll talk more about that tonight in this episode of you got to execute, and to do that you got to be positive about the experience you're going into. And for this, when it comes to being in the lineup and in the thick of it in a San Diego surf break, man, you gotta want it or you're not going to get any waves. And I just had the session of the summer on Friday. Just, I mean, I probably got like 10 plus waves in one morning. And that's a great session. The board was clicking, I'm clicking, you're not making any mistakes. Almost got a barrel, it was just everything was working. And then Saturday went out, got to go with my buddies. It was a bit more casual. And that's kind of the fun about surfing for me is sometimes you go with people and you're like more casual, and then other times you have to go by yourself and
Hmm.
just own the lineup. And it's like this fun game. It really is like chess. Everybody's in different positions. They're moving. It's a dynamic world. The ocean is ever changing throughout the entire session. So anyway, it's always been a fun experience for me. But Saturday, after getting out of the water, went to the beach with the family and got to spend an unbelievable day with some old friends of mine who were going out of town. They're moving out of town. And so this is kind of like their going away party. So that was a really special thing, kind of like just everybody coming back together. Felt really great. And then capped it off with a date with my wife. And have you ever been to Crack Shack in Little Italy?
I've been to the Crack Shack in Little Italy once and the Crack Shack at Encinitas a bunch of times.
Okay. Well, so it's a Richard Blaze restaurant, listeners, for
Hmm.
those of you who aren't familiar. And it's one of those things, Sean, me and my wife have always loved Crack Shack. And I still, to this day, always recommend it to people if they're going to San Diego. But, no matter what, we were at the beach all day. And so you kind of lose that motivation. You're like kind of
Hmm.
having a pull to like, should we really go out? Should we really go out here? I'm so hungry. Is this really going to satisfy me? You start having those questions, right?
Yep.
You're sun fatigued. You're not making the right you're not as mentally sharp as maybe you should be. And man, I'll just say, it was phenomenal. It did. It
I love
like
Crack Shack.
every. It was just as good as you remember, and if not better. Like I think the thing that I couldn't believe was Richard Blaze, I guess, has developed his sauces. So now he has like different dipping. He always had the different dipping sauces that you could go and
Hmm.
get in the cup, but then he also now had hot sauces that you could pick up.
Oh.
Yeah, and there was like a 619 Blaze, and and they had different flavor. Like probably like six or seven different flavors.
Hmm.
And dude, I tried a few. They were so good. I mean,
Okay.
it was just great. I was so full. I had a single beer at dinner because it was like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm gonna have this beer and then have this great food, and that was it. And capped it off. We haven't done this in so long, but me and my wife just were walking around Little Italy, and you know what? Like we don't get to go out on dates much. Let's just get some ice cream.
Ooh,
And
that's the
so
perfect
capped
place
it
is Little
capped it
Italy.
off with this. I got If I'm gonna go in with ice cream, listeners, I always go with the waffle cone
Hmm.
because it's just for me, it's like the perfect combination of like that savory crunch with the coolness of the ice cream. And Sean, being a fan of the cool desserts or cool mouth feels, as he shared last week.
I know, but I'm a sugar cone fan. I don't really like the waffle cones. I like the sugar cones.
Oh,
I like that flaky texture from when the sugar cones break apart. It's always one of my favorite. That was my favorite part about going to Rite Aid and going to Thrifties was getting their sugar cones with the vanilla ice cream. It was the best combo ever.
man. I don't know if I've even had a sugar cone. That just shows how, like, I discovered the waffle cone. And went, you know what? This is pretty good. I'm gonna stick with this. So one thing to say, Sean. It sounds like we both had great weekends. Um, San Diego didn't disappoint.
Mm-mm.
As always, great job. Back and now we're back behind the mahogany desk. I'm here in Arizona. Believe it or not, it's actually not 100 degrees right now though, which is
Really?
yes, it's been damp, damper than normal. Like there's been a
Okay.
lot of storm activity. They call it the monsoon season,
Hmm.
and it's keeping the temps lower. So I'm all in.
Oh
It
yeah.
smells great. The
Bring the
desert.
water.
Oh, it's been wonderful. So with that, Sean, why don't we talk through what we're going to be doing tonight? We're in the thick of it, listeners. The focus for Q3 has been in the thick of it, and it's really we're walking through different ways in which we can execute on our commitments and our time here for the rest of the year. So with this episode 157, we wanted to talk through some of our coping methods for positive thinking. So this is going to be things that we do and hopefully encourage you to make and help you shape a positive way of thinking about everything you've got going on when you're in the thick of it. So with that, Sean, we got three things. We're kind of three sections we're going to walk through. The mindsets that shape the impact we make. Then we're going to move into staying motivated in the thick of it and finish up with what drives Sean and I and our positivity at the end of the day. So with that, Sean, why don't we take it away and dive into the mindsets and how we shape them to make an impact?
Yeah, let's do it. So the if the listeners have been following along over the last couple of episodes, they know that I've been facing some stress at work with a big critical design review that I had to do, and now we're being pushed to get all of the new design released so that we can start ordering it from the supplier. And it's been a really interesting place at work where the morale's been kind of low. We've been really struggling. We're trying to
People
just
are
people are
hanging on for dear
people are hanging out,
life.
they're burning out, like we're all just trying to hang in there just to get through the end of this project. And so it's been kind of tough, and I've been talking to my mom and talking about the things I've been struggling with, and she actually sent me a video on Instagram that I think really pairs and explains a lot of this and the way that her mindset is. It was from a woman named Christina Kuznick, and she explains it, she calls it bricks versus feathers. And I was actually talking with my mom when she sent me to this, and I was kind of talking about one of the coworkers I was struggling with, and the morale was low, and this and that, the things I was frustrated with. And she said, "Well, let me send you this video." And so Christina says that her daughter came to her and was talking about how she was struggling at work. Very similar conversation about how everything was always negative and everything was always going wrong. And her mom said, "You're looking at the negative things in life as bricks you have to pick up. And if you pick up too many bricks, it's going to weigh your life down and you're not going to be able to move forward." So she said, rather start thinking of them as feathers. When they come to you, look at them, acknowledge them, and watch it fly away. And it's a simplified way of kind of explaining this whole mindset and how that shapes the impact that we make on the world. But I like it because it's a constant reminder that you can choose the path that you follow. You can choose to pick up all the bricks and focus on the negativity and always be bogged down by the people around you. Or you could focus on the positives, let the negatives fly by, and focus on the impact you make. And we're going to talk a lot about that in this episode of how use things to shape the impact on ourselves and the people around us and our local environment. But I really like this idea of bricks versus feathers, of just let it fly away. Like, don't get too bogged down because you'll get sucked into it. And I know I've felt that before. I've quit a job because I was so sucked into picking up everybody else's bricks and carrying the negativity and trying to solve all of the wrongs that I was seeing around me. And I was burning myself out. And I'm working really hard not to fall back into that. So think about turning them into feathers. Does that make sense?
Totally does. And I think this is a huge opportunity for everyone to really take stock and think about some of the things that are making an impact in your life for the better or for the worse and and shaping those, right? I mean, that's really what you're when you talk about this idea between an object that we know, a brick versus a feather. Those are two things we've definitely interacted with as people. And putting that to a mindset shaper, it's a really important. I mean, again, you could almost make it anything heavy versus anything light and just let it float away. But yeah, I mean, some of the ways that I do that personally, I do when I'm facing a challenge at work or in the family. I like to tell myself, okay, you could be bored though right now. You could be not needed at all. And I think this is a very important thing for people in a demanding environment to remember is that there's always a sense in which we want to feel important. We want to feel like we're needed for a task and a requirement to be met, for the mission to take place, whatever your job is, whatever your family situation is, you want to feel like people are looking to you for input.
Yep.
Now, again, sometimes if the input level becomes too much and you can't support it in terms of the outputs you can produce, that's where you run into this problem that you're describing here, where, oh, and maybe it's as simple as there's so many external inputs that are also shaping and adding to the complexity of how you're solving these problems. Like, I mean, we've talked about it, Sean. Sometimes you really do need to turn off the Teams or the
Hmm.
phone or the various things because everything is vying for your attention. Today, I can't have my phone on at work because it will just drive too much attention and I wouldn't be able to get anything done. That's me personally. But I think if there's areas in which you're struggling and you're feeling like, oh man, the sky is falling, tell yourself it could always be worse is a good starting point. And ultimately, if you're feeling a lot of inputs from good things like work, I mean, I still would consider work a good thing, right? Because it's providing you a means. You're there is an interaction going on, or sorry, a transaction going on there that's positive for you. So that's another thing that I do think about when I'm going every single day through the motions. It's like I'm not doing this just for free. But I think sometimes when the inputs and we're not supporting the outputs and that transaction starts to get skewed, we forget that. We forget that, oh, actually, I'm earning something here.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, those are some ways that I think you can drive forward in a more productive way, Sean. And another one we were kind of talking about before the show is driving for quality communication is going to be a big opportunity here for you to put, ironically or no coincidence, put your car in drive. You know,
Hmm.
you're getting into the cockpit at work. Don't just wait there for things to happen. When you just wait, it can be a dangerous thing. And you're laughing. Do you have something on your on your mind?
Well, um it was an interesting thing with my work because at the company that I'm at right now, my manager actually told me in the very beginning, he said, when you are first getting started here, be very careful about asking for work. Like this is my advice here is be very careful about asking for work. The work is always going to be there. The work will always find you. Let it come to you naturally. Don't try and take on too many things and then drown yourself because the worst kind of teammate is the one that delivers everything not done versus delivering a couple of things done well. And so he said, I would rather have people on my team who are saying no, but delivering high quality work versus saying yes to everybody to appease everybody and then delivering low quality work to everybody. It just doesn't look good. It's going to cause problems. And he goes, don't be that kind of employee. And I think it was a good lesson to learn. And as I've gained more confidence and comfortability at the company, I have strived to have more quality communication and ask for help more often because I've found when I am spiraling and struggling on my own, the stress is worse. My morale is worse. I'm struggling beyond like I want to challenge. Now it's like I'm in over my head and I don't know
Mhm.
what I'm doing and I need help. So driving for that quality communication of constantly reaching out to people and just checking in, reaching out when you need help. Hey, let's go get some coffee. Hey, can we go grab lunch? Keeping those relationships going, keeping them active will help you realize the impact you're having because the imposter syndrome is real. I mean, like I know I do well at my job, but I don't feel like I do. I feel like I'm constantly falling behind. I'm constantly failing. But then I'm in a meeting with my project manager and he makes a comment that he goes, I really love working with you. You always get the stuff done and I really appreciate that. Whereas I am like, oh my God, I don't get anything done. Everyone's always got to be upset with me. I'm never delivering good stuff because of that imposter syndrome sets in. So driving for that quality communication not only can help you get better, build better bonds, but also will help remind you of all of the good work that you're doing. That everything you're striving and working
Yeah.
towards is not going unnoticed. People recognize it and they appreciate you for what you're doing. And I think that that plays off of the next point here is you have to, in order to understand the impact that you make, you have to shift your mindset away from letting things happen to you and instead taking ownership of everything that's around you. Take ownership of the tasks that you're given. Take ownership of being the best you can be. Build the relationships, build those bonds, be the one who instigates conversations. Understand that you are better than you think you are. It's just the
Yeah.
reality, right? Like we all struggle with this. You are better than you think you are. And if you just reach out and take ownership of everything and know you're going to deliver the best quality thing, and even outside of work, knowing that you're going to be the good friend that always reaches out, knowing that you're going to be the good husband that supports, knowing that you're going to be the good dad, knowing that you're going to be the good single bachelor who's going to treat himself on the weekends and enjoy time with his dad and hang out with people. Take ownership of your life and what's happening in it and know that you are the best. You are better than you think you are. And that's okay to do that. Don't let life just happen to you. You happen to life. I mean, that's kind of the way that
That's
I try and go about it.
I love it, Sean. I mean, I started the show with that surfer example, but I when I go out there, it's like I'm gonna own it. I gotta
Hmm.
own it. You take this to your hobbies as well. You don't just be the person. And I think it's important to preface here, Sean, not everybody is so dominant naturally.
Yeah.
And I think so that's the first thing I would say. If you don't feel like, wow, this is not my natural tendency here to take ownership, that doesn't mean that you can't improve in it. And that doesn't mean that you can't strive to do better at it. And Sean, the other thing I wanted to just drive home for the listeners was you said something there. Quality communication drives quality product development. I think there's a reason why really high powered and well oriented brands in the space focus on quality and they have huge teams dedicated to the quality process. And it's when you look at products across the board, whether it's engineering or consumer products, there's going to be one person doing one thing and just doing that one thing really well. So also don't forget that, right? That this
Hmm.
is we need to find our niche and own that niche as best as we can. And then once we're there, we can then move on and look to another niche and say, okay, well now I want to grow in this area too. That's like my
Yep.
my growth goal for the year. But first find that thing that really connects with you, and then you'll be able to be the best there so that you can be the best teammate, like you were
Yep.
insinuating for the management, right? And that's where we all want to be. We just want to act and be in a state of no, I'm doing the things that I said I would do. I'm executing through the end of this year, and that's what I set out to do at the very beginning. So, staying motivated, Sean. Let's talk through some of the impacts on ourselves. I think the first key here when you talk about looking at things that I'm doing, where am I excelling? Where is some of the things that, hey, I enjoy this hobby, but I'm not owning it yet. What are the steps I'm going to take to own that in the coming months? Like it could, again, I just keep going back to surfing, but it's like I've shared this before. It took me a solid 3 or 4 years of just grinding with the board and getting my butt kicked out there in the surf. And it's so funny because I was actually able to take my kids out and let them experience some of the power of the ocean. We were at Torrey Pines and I was pushing my daughter into some waves and she's just getting thrashed. I mean, just hammered. And I was like, whoa, like, it's like kind of concerning. You like let them
Hmm.
go and then that wave's just doing what waves do, right? It's just a dynamic, and it was kind of an intense day too. There was swell in the water. That's one of the reasons why I went
Mm.
4 days in a row because there was actually some power for a summer. And yeah, we were out there and there's just rip currents everywhere. It's very choppy, and she did fine. But again, it's like everybody has to go through that moment in life where
Hmm.
you're in the choppy water and you're getting bashed and you almost feel like you're just on the edge of drowning. And to be able to then then all of a sudden you just pop through. And it's like it's calm as can be. And
Hmm.
you're going, whoa, I didn't know it was so peaceful out here. I always thought it was nothing but violence on the way to the top.
Yeah.
But at some point you break through, listeners, and you have to take time to reflect on the various things you're doing in your life, whether it be a job, family, where are you at? Maybe you're in the violent rip and you're on your way out and you're just still not, you're in the thick of it, right? You're not quite owning it yet. Well, sit back and develop a well-tailored plan. I like to call it the playbook on how you're going to get through to the peaceful, to the calm, the center of the storm, right?
Hmm.
The eye of the storm. Man, I'm in this like weather thing right now.
I like it. It works. Everyone should understand it.
Moana 1, where she's going out, she has to get out, like out past the surf, and it's like this
Uh-huh.
whole experience. Like, I can never make it past the reef.
But then suddenly you pass through. And I think that in looking on the impact on ourselves and looking at your growth and the positive things that you've done is important. I also think recognizing your impact on others, looking at the people around you and seeing all of the ways in which your efforts have made their lives better. And I don't want to hear anybody say that's not true, it doesn't happen. That's complete farce. Everything you do, if you are working hard, you're taking ownership and you're being a decent person, you are helping make other people's lives around you better. You are taking work that they would otherwise have to be doing. You are being a friend when they need a shoulder to lean on. You are being a great family member. Focus on everything that your work has led you to, whether it's your actual career or work in hobbies or work on yourself, focus on that and see how it has impacted others. And that is a really, really good way to keep moving forward. When you start hitting the sloughs and the troughs, and you're like, oh God, I can't push through this. I've been drowned by this wave. I don't know if I can do this. But look on the others, the other people that you're also in the trenches with, right? I use a lot of like in engineering, nobody engineers by themselves. You're always part of a team. And when you feel like you're drowning, most likely other people also feel like you're drowning. And it's the weirdest thing where when you are facing that getting beat by work, your bonding with your coworkers will never be stronger than in those moments. You're bonding through the trauma and the work that you're having to do. You're all working late nights together and you all recognize each other's stresses and you build relationships and you can help each other and pull work from them, they pull work from you, and you everything just vibes and it works together. And take the time to recognize those moments and appreciate them for what they are. Because, like you said before, you could just be bored. And I think that that is something that is it could always be worse, right? I mean, we all yearn for a little bit of boredom. When life is stressful, we all yearn for that day where we can be bored. But when it's a day turns into a week, and a week turns into a month, and a month turns into 6 months, and you are constantly just bored because you're not challenging yourself, you're not pushing, you're not yearning for the next thing, it becomes the most mind-numbing place to live your life. And I
Oh
have
yeah.
never felt like I'm advancing less in life than the jobs or the works or the hobbies that make me feel bored. That is just, it's awful. Like it really sucks. So, as bad as life is, you could be bored. It could always be worse.
Yeah, I mean, this is you get to that point where you just got to realize, no, I I was made to work. That
Hmm.
for me, it's that simple. I was made to work, and without work, now when I go back and play a single player game, Sean, I'm gonna be honest, like you play those games that you've played before, or maybe as a kid you had this like fantasy based aura around it, like, and you go back and you want to play it, and then you realize, wow, I'm just bored. I think that's because, again, maybe not the same for everybody. Where I'm at with the level of responsibility that I have, it's like I almost can't detach enough from everything that's going on to really, I
Hmm.
think, get into the mindset of being able to enjoy a single player game. Because I know that in 25 minutes, my kids will be hanging on my arm, and it's like, nah, now this is not fun. So I better
Hmm.
go do something productive, or I'm going to be in trouble here, because time is valuable.
Yep.
And so that's another big thing here is yearning for a challenge, yearning for better time management is a way that I stay motivated for myself. I'm going to continue to look for ways that I can be more efficient in my routine. We talked about some of these in episode 156. Go back to that, when we talked about tackling challenges. But this is a way in which you really can make a difference and stay motivated. So yeah, Sean, I think anything more to add here? I think we've done a great job, and I feel like the listeners can take a lot home here. But now we want to drive your positivity with some of our examples. So
Yeah.
these are some of the ways that we feel like we've grown and stayed positive throughout this year and maybe even prior. And so, yeah, we wanted to share some of these with you guys. So, Sean, you can
Yeah.
start it off here.
I think what makes you and I and the other really high performing people that I've met in engineering or in project management or in people management is a yearn for always looking for the next challenge of I want to grow, I want to get better, I want to be better, I want to learn, I want to advance in life, I want to grow. And that is something that really drives my positivity, my mindset, especially in this current role that I'm in my work, because I have grown more in the last 2 years than I did in the previous 10. This job has pushed me beyond boundaries that I thought where I could deal with, dealing with stress and a lot of work to do and just dealing with that, but also new challenges every day of having to be a better design engineer, having to be a better communicator, having to be a better scrum master, having to be a better project manager. All of that has really grown in the last couple of years. And I was telling one of my other coworkers, we were talking about how stressful things have been and how rough it's been and the burnout's been real. And I said that I feel like I have a different scale now when it comes to how bad a job can be because of how bad my last job was. The trauma of working at my last job and having to grow through that. I mean, I've said this a couple of times, I'll say it again. I was going on walks on my lunch breaks so my coworkers wouldn't see me crying because I was having panic attacks and I just couldn't deal with the level of stress that we were dealing with and the toxicity that was in that work environment, dealing with toxic customers and just the whole thing. Now I feel like I have a different level for work. Now I feel like as bad as my current job can get, it could never be as bad as the job I had before. So no matter how stressed or burnout I'm feeling, I know that I'm still excited to come in the next day and sit with my people and learn and be challenged and burn myself out, go home, do it all over again tomorrow. Like I have just a different scale now. And
Hmm.
dealing with that past work trauma and growing from it has allowed me to grow more than I could have imagined in my current role. And focusing on that and reflecting on that has really maintained my positivity through a lot of really kind of crappy situations, in engineering, of being pushed to timelines that are unrealistic, being pushed to take on more work than any people should be feasible allowed to take on, of working long hours and stressful days and long nights. But it's still a place where I can grow. It's still a place where
Hmm.
I'm getting better and I'm learning and I'm yearning for more. So it's a really cool environment to be in. I know that not everybody can be in that kind of situation, but they think that looking at your past and trying to build towards your future is really, really important, and something that, you know, at least in my current job, like, again, as bad as it could be, it could never be as bad as my last job.
No, thanks for sharing that, Sean. I think this is a big one for many people to take home on is it could be all it, and we said this earlier, it could always be worse. When it comes to knowing yourself and knowing your job and where you stand, I think this is a very personal thing. And you've got until you get pushed the absolute red line, you really don't know. And it sounds like you were pushed there.
Yep.
This is definitely a tough thing that many people have to go through. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing there. I think one of the ways that I kind of level out and round out these spiky peaks of life, when you're in the thick of it, whether it be work or uh, mostly work because that's like 90% of what we do, but yeah, family too. Some of the ways I cope most effectively, I find, whether it be even actually on vacation or I mean, it could be any way. I really appreciate quality nutrition. I'm finding that more and more and more and more as I age. And so a good meal just seems to balance out some of the negativity of a day that could be spiraling out of control. And when you sort of bookend, we've talked big on planning and having a better overall plan for your day. When it's predictable, like a good meal for me is also predictability. So there's this aspect to it where it's I'm not unsure of what's coming because I want to eliminate the amount of uncertainty within a specific day because of the known level of uncertainty that's right around the corner. Like some days you just even today, I think no, it was Monday when I came back. I was like, okay, I'm back in office. This could be a tough week. I said that to myself, like,
Mhm.
ooh, you just never know what's around the corner. If I don't get on it, I could get like you said earlier, like the wave could come. And if I'm sort of waiting it there in the shallow end, so you got to push through and almost like make things happen immediately upon return from a vacation, a mindset of more lax living. But yeah, a good meal. I think whether it be midday or coming home from work and just spending that extra time to just put something together that really and you know it well. There's something to that when you do that time and time and time and time again. And that's really how you become the best
Mhm.
is you just keep doing it over and over and over and over until it becomes familiar. It becomes something it ends up being a safe place versus just always being uncertain. Where am I going to be? I'm like, okay, I don't know. Should I run down to the cafeteria? Like for me, that just it becomes so much more stressful about a day. It's like, what am
Mhm.
I doing? What's going on? Everything just seems to be coming at me. I don't even have time to go and get. A lot of times, it's like you don't. If I didn't prepare my lunch, I feel like I'd never have time to just sit back and eat.
Yeah.
So, that's just one thing right there for me. And then of course, I mean, this is a hobby show, but positivity from me is all driven by a lot of hobby activity. So depending on what the weekend's going to look like, I just pick something and I just move towards that activity
Mhm.
with a vigor. I say, no, I'm going to do this. Even that process last week I shared of I'm going to surf. That doesn't just come for free. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. to there's a whole thing regarding it, right? You got to be clean the night before as best as you can. You got to get to sleep as best as you can. I wasn't sleeping that great, to be honest with you, but I was still getting myself up and getting in the car and driving to the beach. And again, it's just when you commit to something, the amount of joy and motivation that stems and positivity that stems from just doing that and saying, you know what? You come out and you go, I did that. Even if it wasn't great. Hey, I did that.
Yep.
And I shared last week, I kind of got my butt kicked by my buddy. Hey, you want to go out, go for the 5 mile run? It's like, what? I'm not ready for that, man. We did it. We did it. And I think sometimes it's just being willing to push through and do it is going to provide you the most motivation, the most positivity, and you don't realize that it's going to be that way because they're hard things, Sean. They're
Hmm.
hard things. And that's just from a person that is always striving to do if I'll be this is my last antidote, listeners. If I know something is gonna be a little bit painful or a little bit hard, I know that I'm on the right track. And
Yeah.
that takes some tailoring and that takes some dialing, trust me. But I there is a neurological release of motivation and positivity for the better when you put those things into your life.
Yep, I fully agree. Look for the challenges, look for the things that'll help you grow. Especially at work, my manager, when I had a conversation with him that I felt like I was in over my head. And he had volunteered or voluntold me that I was going to be doing this new assignment. And I was like, I'm honestly, I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. And he goes, I wouldn't have volunteered you for this role if I didn't think you could do it. I know you can. You don't know you can, but I know you can. You can overcome this. You can get through it. Reach out for help, ask for guidance. Don't silo. You have people around you, but I have faith you can figure this out. You just need to have the faith in yourself that you can figure it out. And that to me was the best message a manager can give of I know that you're going to struggle, but I have faith you can do it. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of nudge you just a little bit because when you come out on the other end of this stress, I know you're going to be a better person. I know you're going to be a better engineer. I know you're going to be stronger. You're going to be ready for the next challenge to come. And then I'm going to push you a little bit harder and we're going to get you there. And then before you realize it, in 2 years, I am a light night and day engineer compared to where I was 2 years ago. I will absolutely recognize that completely night and day difference because of those incremental challenges that I've been pushing towards. So
Mm-hmm.
focus on that. Focus on the impact that you're having on others. Focus on the impact you're having on yourselves, your environment around you. Remember, you could always be bored and, always drive for quality communication. Take ownership of everything that's happening around you. Don't let life happen to you. You need to happen to life. Take ownership of the journey you're on, the path you're going to follow, and don't let anybody else tell you what you're going to be. You show other people what you're going to be and what you can do.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Sean. Any other examples you want to share on this show, or do we want to land the plane here?
I say we land it. I think just
Yeah.
wanted a quick, unrelated, but a lesson from this last week. And I can't remember if I talked about this last week, but it's been like 3 weeks of this for me because of how stressful work has been. I've been forcing myself to take a day per weekend and make it my nothing day. So I get all my chores done by Friday. I've got all the groceries. I've got the laundry done. I've cranked through work. I've done everything so that either Saturday or Sunday can be my nothing day. I can sleep in, I can go on a walk, I can play video games, I can read, I can do whatever I want, feeling guilt free because there's nothing else I should be doing. I've done everything, all of my responsibilities. Now I can just relax. And that has been a game changer for me the last couple of weeks of improving my mindset going into Monday. I don't get the Sunday scaries anymore. I'm prepared for Monday because I got a full relaxing weekend and it has been really really nice. So I think if you can try and bring more relaxed time in because it's more important than you think it is.
I love that way. Great way to end the show, and definitely build that in, listeners. If you haven't been fighting for that relaxation time over the weekend, it helps a lot. So, yeah, with that, Sean, thank you as always. Listeners, thanks for being here. This has been another great time to talk through some of the things that can happen. And since we're all in the thick of it here in Q3, trying to execute on the commits we made for the beginning of the year, let's continue to stay positive and help each other out. So as you're leaving the lounge, best place to be on a Friday, give each other a pat on the back and say, well done for another week. This show will be coming to you at a regularly slated time, 6 a.m. Friday, best day of the week. And we stay consistent with that because if we're not being consistent with the show, then we're not able to talk about these consistent coping methods that we shared during this episode. So we hope you enjoyed them. We hope you found value here. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, you can reach out to us. We have a Instagram, YouTube now, episodes going up there, comment feature in Spotify. There's plenty of ways. And for our Gmail, that's howtohobbypodcast@gmail.com. So with that, nothing more to really say here, Sean. We'll see you next time, listeners. And until then, you know where to find us at the How
How
to
to
Hobby
Hobby
Podcast.
Podcast.